Originally, they were just going to say thanks, and then Dapper Manatee said that they should have a year on them for DCP kids. Which there was one when I was at Epcot and I was buying stickers. Oh, thank you for the follow. There was the kid that was there at the little stand. It was her first day of the DCP. So I was super proud of it. I was like, oh, it's your first day. Congratulations. And I was being super sweet, and I gave her like one of the, like I said, I made the tokens. These are the ones that I made for Disneyland. This is one of the ones that I made for Disney World. Kind of like these a little better. So, I don't know. They're cuter. I have pink ones too. I made pink and I made blue. Just to be fun. So yeah. I don't know what that says, Omni. Other than reportando, which I assume means reporting. Is the secret out yet? The secret? What secret? Are you talking about the job? No. I don't know if it's not really a secret. I don't want to like jinx it. All I have is a potential for an interview for a job. There's not like a yeah, well, I mean it's just I have a potential for an interview, and that's like as far as it goes. HR recommended me to the hiring manager. The hiring manager has not moved forward on my application, but they haven't denied my application either, so that's good news that I'm still in the running, I guess. I don't know. I'll find as soon as I find out. And like I said, if I get this job, that would be super awesome, amazing. I would be able to pay off my student loans in a fairly quick amount of time, and so I would probably, with the pay raise, I would put most of it into savings so that I could get myself a new car. My car is 13 years old, and I would like something a little newer. Really, I would like a hybrid. I would like a hybrid or an all-electric. The only reason I want an electric, well, other than the environment, because, you know, I care about our planet, but, like, I just want an electric because then I don't have to pay for gas, because gas is too freaking expensive. Stormy! Stop! So, I don't know. Well, as soon as I have good news, I will let you guys know. I want a passport, but imperial blockages are killing us. Yes! Yes, they are. And did you guys see? Did y'all see the meeting on Coruscant on Tuesday and Wednesday? It was I'm actually like I'm concerned. I am getting concerned for the health of the Emperor. Like, he is not well. And I mean, like, I don't mean that, like, because he's not been well for a while, but he is not well. That is all but elder abuse at this point. Like, that... I know, it's a new hope. But still, like, I don't want people to suffer. Even people I don't like. I am a Christian woman. I don't want people to suffer. I think he's suffering. His narcissism makes it so that he wants to do these things. But honestly, he needs rest. Like, actual rest. Evil people should suffer. To a point. The petty person in me says, yes, evil people should suffer. Hey, Belle. But the rest of me says, no. That's why your religion has a hell. But the point of... But my religion has a hell in this... I struggle with the idea of hell. If you guys don't already follow her, go and follow the Nerdy Priest. She kind of is able to more eloquently put how I often feel in my deconstruction and reconstruction, and like the idea of hell is relatively new. Like that's 1800s, 1700s is when the idea of hell was kind of invented. Maybe the 1600s. It's more modern than really the Bible. Bible doesn't really talk about hell. I mean, it talks about the pit, but that's about it. And it's not. It's where like Satan goes and the Antichrist, and it's kind of it. Women can't be priests. Yes, they can. Stormy, stay out of the trash, please. Can you lay down? There you go. Yes, good boy. Yes, they can. You're a Taoist? Oh, that's cool. I love all religion. I find it fascinating. That's the two. When I learn about other people, I want to know what religion you practice, and I want to know what food you eat. Because I feel like those are the two, like, if you really want to understand a person, what foods do they eat? What traditional foods they eat? And I don't mean, like, traditional as in, like, you consume blah, on a holy day. Christians have always said hell. No. Historically, they did not. Like, if you go back to, like, the Gospels, it's not in there. And it's not in Acts, and Paul doesn't talk about it either. It's, like I said, it's a fairly modern construction, kind of like the rapture. It's not, it's new. It's not, do I believe in the rapture? I don't know. Do I believe in hell? I don't know. That's interesting on me. But like I said, I always want to know what's your traditional foods. Not even traditional. What's your what are the what is the traditional foods isn't the right word. Do computers have souls? Depends on the computer. See, there you're getting into like Star Trek territory. Do computers have souls? I mean, yes. If a computer is sentient, then it has a soul. I think sentience is what the soul is. So, now I know about mixing fantasy with reality, but to me, like, if it has sentience, then it has a soul. That's why I like, if it can walk and it can talk and it can communicate and it can think for itself, then it has sentience. If it has emotional intelligence, even a minimal amount, then it is sentient. That therefore is a soul. Do I believe computers have souls? Depends on the computer. If we ever reach the level of like data from Star Trek, if we ever reach that level, no, I haven't, brownies. If we ever reach the level of data, like I can believe, but I side with the Empire. I do not. Fantasy wise, yes, I side with the Empire, and that's really more as a joke. In all realities, if we lived in the Star Wars universe, I would probably be a Mandalorian or just some regular citizen who's just tired of everything. Jen is secretly a rebel. What about fetuses? Are they sentient? No, they're not. I don't know if a fetus has a soul. Seeing as how the Bible says that when I breathed life into you, fetuses don't breathe. I don't know. That's a higher level conversation than I'm gonna have on TikTok and or YouTube. My beliefs about those kinds of things often break from the Christian church. She works for Access. I do not. Thank you very much. If I work for Umbrella. Long live the Empire. So the only time I get really like into the character of like Long Live the Empire is when I ride Rise of the Resistance. I am literally giving anything that the Resistance or anything that the First Order wants, uh, and that's mainly so that I could I can personally be interrogated by General Hux. I will tell the First Order whatever it is that they want to know, so long as I am interrogated by General Hux. That's um Catholic Church confers life at the moment of conception. That's the Catholic Church, and while I am technically a part of the Catholic Church, I converted, but I deconverted. I don't know how that works. She's hiding the T writers, maybe. I don't know. I do make a lot of jokes when it comes to writing Rise of the Resistance over whether or not I side with the First Order, but all of those jokes are mainly around that I will tell them whatever they want to know about the Resistance so long as I can be alone with General Hux. Just saying, beautiful ginger babies. Well, and then there's Phasma. Mommy. Yeah, Phasma could also interrogate me and I would not be upset. Because mommy. Um, Gwendolyn Christie is hot. Um, I love Phasma. I am. You don't understand how angry I was when they just offed her in The Last Jedi. Like, I wanted Phasma to be the new Boba Fett. Do I still read books online? Yes, I'm gonna do that. I guess I can do that. Is everybody here? Does everybody want me to start reading? That was kind of the plan tonight. And then we got to talking because I'm like that. And by the way, I'm not sick. I just. So we lost something important in my house, and then Mando Dad and I were like tearing the house apart trying to find it. We still didn't find it. I mean, it's important. It's not life or death, but it's important. And so my house is like dust everywhere at the moment because we were like rooting through stuff. Like we're tearing the house apart. Um, they're probably wherever the lost things go. I don't know. We do need to find it because it is kind of important. We have a workaround because we need the it's the kids' birth certificates. Usually they're in the safe, but they're not in the safe, which is kind of concerning because where did it go? Because it's got all of our important documents in one location. But we needed the kids' birth certificates because my parents are flying with our children. We're flying separate. And in order for my parents to be allowed to fly with our children, my parents have to have a copy of their birth certificates and a form that says that they have medical power of attorney over our children. Yes, we know that we can get duplicates. Here's the rub. We leave on Tuesday. We fly out on Tuesday. And we discovered tonight that we can't find the paperwork that we need. Yeah. So, that's fun. I guess we can get a certified copy. Yeah, it should get a. So I have a PDF of one of my children's because I had to like no sleep tonight. Now we gave up. Like we already tore apart every place that it could possibly be that made sense, and a few places that didn't make sense. So we're just kind of like quitting for the time being. And then hopefully tomorrow we'll find them. No sleep. No, I'm gonna sleep. Also, I finally have an editor for my podcast, so that is going to be going off the ground soon, thankfully. Now that I finally have an editor. Yeah. It's not going to be my original idea, which was the Real Housewives of Camino. That might still happen, but my partner for that one doesn't have time. So, my absolutely not Z. That's an instant block. I don't allow that kind of nonsense in my lives. Uh, yeah, that's an instant block. I don't allow that kind of stuff in my life. I will let people get away with a lot. I will let you say things to me that you probably shouldn't say to actual. He can't see it, Rajin. He's gone. I blocked him immediately. That kind of shit does not happen in my life. I don't put up with that. You can say a lot of things to me. You can call me fat, four eyes, make all kinds of comments about my body or whatever, but you start spewing hateful stuff? Like I said, I will let people make comments about me and I will warn them and then I will block them, but that kind of shit? And you got me swearing on live. He said that a certain group of people to which I belong are better than women. Well, I should say women. He said that women who look like me, a very lovely shade of mayonnaise, are better inherently than people who don't turn into lobsters when they go in the sun. Yeah, but I've had people like comment that four eyes on my lives. It's fine. I've worn glasses my entire life, almost literally. Not as bad as Minnie Mando. Minnie Mando has been wearing glasses since she was 13 months old. I've been wearing them since I was 4. But yeah, somebody in the this one made a comment that people of a mayonnaise complexion are better than people of a other complexion. I can't get LASIK. See, the thing is that most of the people that wear glasses or any kind of corrective spectacles are nearsighted. And there's a very small amount of the population that is farsighted. I fit into that very small part of the population that is farsighted. And because most of the population of people who wear corrective lenses are nearsighted, most advancements in LASIK surgery have been put into nearsightedness. Very little has been done for farsightedness. And so, no, I would never do that. That's disgusting. So, I can't get LASIK. I mean, I could. There is LASIK for people who are farsighted. That is a thing. But, as I was told by the last eye doctor I talked to probably about 2 or 3 years ago, my eyes in about 5 years would go back to the way that they are now. I would start having to wearing glasses again after 5 years of getting LASIK. So that's not worth it. By the time I finish paying off the LASIK surgery, I'd be wearing glasses again. So, no. LASIK is unfortunately not an option for me at this time because I'm farsighted, not nearsighted. And the same problem for my father, who's farsighted, and my daughter, who is farsighted, and my grandmother, who is farsighted. When my grandma found out that Minnie Mando was farsighted, my grandmother apologized for giving me the genetics of poor eyesight. I have just learned to live with blurred vision. I wear contacts with my Mandalorian helmet. My original helmet was big enough that I could put it on over my glasses. Now I just wear contacts. Do you ever want to get LASIK? I mean, if it was an option, like if it would last longer than it would take for me to pull it off, pay it off, then yeah, sure, I would love to get LASIK. I would love to not wear glasses, or contacts, but just not an option. If it was an option, I would get it. Oh yeah, one other thing, if I get this pay rise, if I get it, I am going to Thailand. Just saying. I'm going to Thailand if I get this new job. That's a goal. I'm going to Thailand, and I'm going to go see my sister in Thailand, and I'm going to stop in Japan, and I'm going to go to Tokyo Disney, and then I'm going to also go to Thailand and Take advantage of their medical tourism. I'm gonna fix all the parts of my body that I don't like. Basically, I'm just gonna fix the parts that have made friends with gravity since I lost all this weight, and remove, like I still have like excess. I have like excess skin from losing all the weight that I would like to get removed. These used to be a lot more fun. Now they're not. I would like them hitched up and put back to the way that they were before I lost all the weight. So, yeah. No. I'm not going crazy. No, I am just going to. It's called a mommy makeover. I'm just gonna get a mommy makeover in Thailand, and then that's fine. I'm not going crazy. Like, I'm not gonna be a Playboy bunny by the time it's over. Yeah, mostly a lip. No, I would like an increase. I would like them to be back to the size that they were before I lost weight. That's what I want. I want them back to that. I want them to be that size while I am this skinny. But yeah, So I would like to at least get rid of the extra skin. If nothing else, just that. So turn Rylath into AI data center. Turning Rylath into an AI data center sounds like a bad idea. So anyway, chapter 3, because we gotta get through. This is a short book. We gotta get through it. I do, for the most part. I bought a bikini recently, which was a big step for me in body confidence. I even wore it in public. It was at 10 o'clock at night, so no one would see me, but I did wear it. And it is a bikini, but it's a high-waisted one, so that you don't see all of my stretch marks or excess skin. But it is, I mean, you can see like this much skin. You can see like 3 inches of my skin. Aw, that's so good, Regent. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I wasn't on a postpartum weight loss journey, but I'm just on a weight loss journey. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard. Yes, it's a 50s inspired. It really is, because it's a navy blue and polka dots. It's very sailor 50s vintage feel. It's super cute. That's why I got it. When I was sitting there and I was deciding on which bathing suit to get, it was down to the very vintage looking one, or like a floral, think like Golden Girls couch kind of a look. And Minnie Manda was like, "No, Mom, get the vintage one. That looks cool." And I was like, "All right." The 10-year-old, 11-year-old says it's cool. I forget, she's almost 11. She will be 11 in 3 weeks. I have a tweenager. Ah. And she's super sassy. She literally sent me a text message today that goes, "You owe me $5. I lost a tooth." They're not here. They're at the beach. So, but yeah, she sent me a text and she's like, "You owe me $5. I lost a tooth." Not like, "Hey Mom, how's your night going?" Just, "I lost a tooth. Give me $5." She knows what's up. She knows her value. She's my little sassy pants. Like, I fear greatly for anybody, whoever gets involved with that child, because she is sassy. Sassy. Love her to death, but she is sassy. All right. Chapter 3. For the first time since Captain Panaka had opened the door to tell her the election results, Padme let herself relax. It had been a long afternoon, the first of many, she was sure, and though she wasn't exactly tired, she was tired of holding her face so still. She had decided early on in the campaign that she was going to present herself as this stoic, measured option. Her actions would be enough to show her compassion without having to write it all over her face. Though it got easier every day, such control did not come naturally to her, and sometimes she just wanted to smile. She lay back on the bed. a grin stretching across her face. She had done it. The months of planning and preparation, of training herself to look a certain way, no matter how she felt, of isolating herself from her family and friends had worked, and she was Queen of Naboo. She groped for a pillow and put it over her mouth, smothering the giggle that boiled up out of her. The guards were, after all, right outside her door, and Padme hadn't yet decided if Amidala was the type who giggled, even in private. She let herself bask in the feeling for several minutes before she sat up and got back to work. From what she would tell, Bibble had sent her every document the planetary government had produced in the last few months, and even though she was aware of most of the issues, this would be her first access to the privy details. She couldn't wait to get to them. But first there was something she had to do. She held her private comm in her hand and called her parents. She'd hoped she hadn't kept them waiting too long. They had been quite understanding of her ambitions, even if her father didn't entirely think it was a good idea, and hopefully they would know why she hadn't been able to call them earlier in the day. Congratulations! Jobal's voice came through the connection with a pristine clarity as she stepped into the projection. Thanks, Mom, Padme said. She let herself smile again. She could always be herself with her parents. We're so proud of you, Rui added, peering beside his wife. Coming from her father, those words went more than Padme could say. She knew he understood that, and that her smile would always be enough for him, queen or not. Yes, Padme is an elected queen. On Naboo, they elect their monarchs. I'm sorry I couldn't call and tell you myself, Padme said. It's been a very busy day. I can imagine, Rui said with a laugh. Sio lives for this sort of thing. Having a father who was known at least by reputation to most of the important people on the planet had never really impacted Padme's life. Rui had the gift of knowing how to be friends with powerful people without taking advantage of it, and this was something Padme admired about him. He very rarely slipped up, but she supposed this was an exciting day for him too. Anyway, Rui continued, we both understand that your time is going to be spoken for a lot. We've known that since you entered the campaign. Politics moves your priorities around, and we trust you enough to make those decisions. What your father is trying to say, Jobal said, jumping in, is that we know you're busy and excited, and we're going to hear about you on the Holo News, and we love you anyway. That is not all that I was trying to say, Rui said. Padme laughed. She kept it quiet, but didn't raise her hand to muffle the sound. Her mother had always encouraged her dreams as much as her father had tempered them with practicalities. They were two different approaches to the same destination, and Padme had learned two different ways to show love. I'll remember who I am, Dad, Padme said. No matter who I'm talking to or what I have to look like. That's all I wanted to hear, Rui said. I wanted to hear about your rooms, but I guess you don't have those yet, Jobal said. The private apartments in Theed's palace were very, very rarely open to the public, for security and other reasons. Little was known about their appearance, but there were rumors that they held some truly great pieces of art, and Jobal was highly interested in that sort of thing. Not for a couple more days, Padme said. I'm in the palace now, but not the royal part yet. Queen Senandrasa is probably packing up, but the official transfer of power isn't until the end of the week. From her study of the blueprints, Padme was reasonably sure that her current room was a few floors directly below the royal apartment, but she assumed the upper floors were laid out differently. Eventually, her guards and staff would live where she was staying now. She heard a chime through the comlink, and both of her parents looked away for a moment. Sorry, your father is hosting his usual post-election get-together, Jobal said as Rui disappeared from the frame. That's all right, Padme said. I still have a lot to do. Mother and daughter lapsed into comfortable silence while they waited for Rui to come back. Give my love to Sola, Padme said as Rui returned from the frame. Her parents said goodnight, and she turned off the comm. She thought of her parents' house tonight, full of friends, celebrating and theorizing what was going to come next. For a moment, she was painfully lonely. And then it struck her. She was going to be what everyone was talking about. Yes, there were new representatives in the legislature to discuss too, but the primary focus of most conversations tonight would be the new Queen of Naboo, and that was her. It was an incredible responsibility, and Padme was so excited. Coruscant was at times made of light. It shone like a beacon the seat of a great Republic Senate, attracting attention from systems in every corner of the galaxy. Like monarchs to a transistor coupling, all kinds of people were drawn to the power of the city planet, and all of them basked in the glow. But Coruscant was also full of structures and cables, and the detritus of centuries of continuous habitation. And in the shadow of those things, there was always plenty of space for the dark. In the seedy corners of the Undercity, cruelty festered and looked for places to grow. Darth Sidious rarely bothered with the lower levels. He had ways to exploit them if he wanted something, of course, but it was far more his style to bring darkness into places where people thought they were beyond its reach. He found the weak points, the cracks where the light got out, and shoved the darkness in. He played a long game, a smart game, and unfortunately from time to time, that meant dealing with people who failed to understand the grand scope of his vision. Despite his personal distaste for them, the lower levels were a good place to have discreet conversations. Sidious rarely bothered with having those in person either, but he knew that his presence would be overwhelming, and that he had no issue pressing the advantage when one of his so-called allies was faltering. Newt Gunray had been ranting for several minutes about the failed bill. Sidious had more or less been ignoring him the whole time. If you guys don't remember, by the way, Newt Gunray wanted two things. There was two things that the Trade Federation did not like, and we learned this in Cloak of Deception, and I think Plagueis as well. The Trade Federation, at this time, was not being taxed, and the Senate wanted to start taxing the trade routes, and the Trade Federation did not like that. On top of that, the Trade Federation wanted to be recognized as given full rights in the Senate, in the Galactic Senate, and they wanted the ability to have weapons, right? That was what we read in Shadowhunter. The Trade Federation wanted weapons, more weapons. As it was, the droid army was there meant to be defense, and they were not really supposed to have any kind of offensive capabilities. And they were supposed to have a very minimal amount of military power, firepower, and they were trying to get more, basically. So that's the. If you guys don't remember the history of the Trade Federation, it's probably going to come. Assuming that's still canon, because those are from the Legends books, and this is a canon book. Obviously, because in the Legends book, it's King Verona who precedes Padme in the election, and this one it's Queen Senadrassa. So that's a little bit of a difference between a Legends timeline and the current canon timeline. Just call Boba Fett's ship the Slave One. Well, that's what it's called. That's the title of the ship. Just because that word is not considered a great word, that doesn't change. That's the title of the ship. That's what it says on the side. Which, oh, by the way, with Arabesh, it was really funny because when we were riding Star Tours and Rise the Resistance, and Smuggler's Run last weekend, my nephew was like, "Does this stuff actually say anything?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's Arabesh. It's just another alphabet. It's pretty much most of the time in English, but it's just in a different font." And he goes, "Does it actually?" And I said, "Yeah, because when I was watching the mall show, I was able to recognize APB on the screen because they were at the Planet Police Station. I'm getting better at recognizing Arabesh letters. I'm still not as good as that one girl on TikTok here, but I'm getting there. I mean, I can sort of read Arabesh. But anyway, continuing on. Newt Gunray had been ranting for several minutes about the failed bill. That would be the one where they wanted more firepower. Sidious had more or less been ignoring him the whole time. It wasn't important. At the end of the day, Gunray himself wasn't important. Useful, yes, particularly given his suggestibility and willingness to spend vast amounts of money on disposable fighting forces, but not important. Also remember that Sidious and Plagueis helped excel Newt Gunray to the top of the Trade Federation. And then that senator from Naboo insisted on the bypass amendment, and it cost us the entire Delcondrian faction. Gunray wound up. We did everything we could, but the votes were against us. It doesn't matter, Sidious snapped. He learned a great deal from the failed bill. How far Malastare was willing to go, how much Telenites were willing to lose, whom the Caladarians were willing to sacrifice. You will have a new bill in the next few days. Dodd won't be able to introduce it, Gunray said. It's too obvious. Of course it is, Sidious said. He was surrounded by idiots. Someone from the Delcrontrian faction will introduce it. But we just lost them, Gunray protested. That was Naboo's fault, Sidious said. This new bill will win them back. Gunray muttered something too quietly for Sidious to hear, and then immediately looked fearful. Under the cowl of his hood, Sidious smiled. They needed him badly for their petty little squabbles, and he terrified them completely. It was one of his chief delights. Someone will contact you, Sidious continued, as though nothing had happened. Yes, my lord, Gunray said. He bowed obsequiously, and Sidious cut the connection before he could say anything else. The Nemoidians were trouble. It was always a challenge to find someone just incompetent enough, and while Sidious enjoyed the thrill of it, sometimes it required more of his supervision than he'd like to give. He needed agents who could act independently, but it wasn't time for them yet. There were too many pieces, too many outcomes to let someone who could think for themselves start messing around. Still, there was never any harm in being prepared. Sidious changed comm channels and reached out to his apprentice. Amidala had won. Sabin watched the announcement along with everybody else on the planet, and felt something unfurl in her chest she'd never felt before. This was what success felt like, even if it wasn't precisely hers yet. She left the room where the other students were watching the full results and went back to her small quarters. Queen Amidala. It sounded regal, perfect, beautiful, and to all appearances the queen herself was all three. She must be brilliant as well. But Sabin knew the brilliance alone wasn't enough to run a planet. Charm, that elusive quality Sabin had never possessed, was a part of it. She pulled her carry case from under her bed and opened it. The bag was a bit dusty, but aside from it, it was empty and ready to go. She turned to her desk where 3 acceptance letters were stacked, pretentiously written on Arbvellum real paper. There were offers to sit in the back of the row of 3 different orchestras. She hadn't read any of them past the first few lines. Now she swept them into the garbage disposal and gathered up what knickknacks had accumulated on her desk. These went into her carry case along with her spare clothes and other belongings she'd brought with her to the conservatory. Lastly, she pulled down her Halixet case. She opened it up and looked at the instrument that was the cause of so much of her stress and joy. Her fingers brushed the silent strings, but her decision was already made. Sabin, T-S-A-B-I-N. Sabin. What do you want to bet that Sabin, T-S-A-B-I-N, is Sabe? I'm going to guess that now. Sabin, with a T, sounds a lot like Sabe. So I'm going to guess that that's Sabe. Sabin shut the case and placed it on top of her larger one. Then she sat down on her bed to wait, reading through the election results on her personal screen. There was no great surprises this year, only an odd fluttering in her chest that something had finally going to go right for her. And when Captain Panaka came back, Sabin would be absolutely ready to go. No, do not turn Rhodia into an AI data center either. Rhodia has suffered enough. Same for Rylock. How about, what's the homeworld of the Nemoidians? They like that kind of stuff. Make the homeworld for the Nemoidians an AI data center. Chapter 4. In hindsight, perhaps she should not have met Sabin for the first time as the queen. It had made perfect sense at the time. Padme had several meetings in the morning with various officials and palace employees, and when Panaka announced it was time for the final meeting of the afternoon, Padme hadn't slipped out of her role, so Sabin had met her as a cool and distant monarch, not as someone who was going to get to know her like a second skin. To her credit, Padme realized the error almost as soon as Panaka was finished introducing the girls to each other. Thank you, Captain, Amidala said. That will be all for now. Panaka was surprised to be dismissed, but he wouldn't be on duty again until the next day, but he swallowed any protests he might have made and left them to it. Then the 2 of them were staring at each other in awkward silence. Padme's eyes flicked to the guards, who were pretending not to be there. She didn't have a complete read on them yet, so she wasn't sure how far their discretion would go. They never accompanied her into a room where she slept, though, and there were 2 chairs in there, she remembered. Walk with me, she said, getting to her feet and holding out an arm. Sabin nodded and fell into step beside her. Padme led the way into the bedroom and shut the door behind them. This is more complicated than I was imagining, she said. Please sit down. Sabin did as she was told. So far, as a matter of fact, she had been entirely biddable, and her face hadn't shown any emotion. Padme could completely understand that. Royal handmaidens are traditionally attached to a queen to serve in her private household, Padme said as a place to start. I don't know if Captain Panaka has told you the same things that he's told me, but that is not exactly what I'm looking for. The captain said you were looking for a bodyguard, but not the usual kind, Sabin said. I wouldn't be defending you with a blaster. I'd be defending you with my identity. No monarch has had a bodyguard like that since the last dispute with the Gungans, and that was generations ago. Padme said, and I'm not entirely sure that there is a reason to return to that practice. My impression of Captain Panaka is that he is more of no reason not to sort of a thinker, Sabin said. She was still sitting stiffly in the chair. Padme slouched in her own seat and watched with some satisfaction as Sabin's shoulders relaxed too. I agree, Padme said. I don't think there's any harm in following his advice. Or, Sabin suggested, a hint of mischief in her voice for the first time, letting him think that most of his advice is being followed. Padme didn't try to stop the smile that spread across her face. She was not a deceptive person by nature, but she did understand the value of keeping her cards close. My name is Padme, she said. It was the greatest show of trust she could think of, and it was enough. Puzzle piece, sorry. I'm pleased to meet you, Sabin said, finally looking at her with unguarded expression. Padme leaned farther back in her chair. She kicked off her slippers and crossed her feet in front of her, her knees leaning on the armrests. I've already changed the captain's plan a little bit, she said. He thought one bodyguard would be enough, but I have convinced him that a group is a better idea. Because it's easier to hide, Sabin mused. Do you know who yet? No, not yet, Padme said. We only talked about it yesterday. But he found you, and I assume he had other people in mind when he decided that you were the one to bring in. We should be loyal to you, not to him, Sabin said quickly. They have me staying in the barracks with the other guards, and I don't think that's a good idea. Padme hadn't considered that. He recruited me because I'm good at providing support. It's what I've always done for any group I've ever played with. But I don't think that's all I have to offer, Sabin said. When Padme said nothing, she continued. Halixet players spend years on breath control, even though it's a stringed instrument. It's part of the discipline, but it also helps maintain the purity of the sound. I can breathe without anyone noticing, and that means I can control my face and my reactions. I wondered how you did it, Padme said. You're very good. I can teach you, Sabin said immediately. This was going to be more fun than Padme had thought. It's possible that we'll have different gut reactions to things, but if we both learn the same way of concealing those reactions, no one will be able to tell. They talked for a while longer about themselves, getting to know each other. A droid brought dinner and the sun went down, and neither girl particularly cared. Sabin was quick to understand Padme's ideas, and quicker still to provide suggestions to improve them. The plan was by no means perfect, but it was a good start. That's probably as much as we can do before the others get here, Padme said. It wouldn't make any sense to set up the whole stage before we have all the players on it. I can show you the breathing exercises at least, Sabin said. Let me call a droid first, Padme said, making the decision for them both. You're not staying in the barracks. This is me reading Queen's Peril. Hi, I'm Mandomom and I read Star Wars books on the internet. Among other things. I'm also a cosplayer, I'm a mom, I have ADHD, I work in STEM. Pick your poison. Because, I'm a Disney adult. At any given time, any video that I post on my page will be entirely different from whatever was the last video because I have ADHD and I do what I want. It's my channel. There's no theme. Mostly it's Star Wars. I'm super into Star Wars though. It's kind of my special interest. But this is the book we are currently reading. We're kind of going through the timeline of the galaxy, starting with Darth Plagueis, and then we're going to keep going. This is one of the few ventures into current canon from Legends timeline, just because I wanted to read it. And again, it's my stream, I can do what I want. I'm a Truvia master? Am I a Trivia master? I don't think so. There's a lot about Star Wars that I can honestly tell you I don't know, because I didn't read the comics. I've read some of the comics, but they're all Legends timeline now. I'm not as familiar with the comics as I should be. So, and please don't ask me any questions about the Umbara arc. I don't need to be, traumatized again. Order 66, the Umbara arc, 94. I almost said Docking Bay 7, and I knew that wasn't right. I was looking up the Docking Bay 7 menu for Disneyland. 94. Docking Bay 94. No, it's 94. Pretty sure it's 94. We all shoot out, hence we hate the Disney canon. I don't hate the Disney canon. Because the Disney canon does include books like this, and this book is pretty awesome. The Disney canon does include things like Clone Wars and Rebels and Rogue One. So there is a lot to be said that the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, like there's a lot, the canon that is awesome. But with all things, there are parts that I don't like. I love Harry Potter. I have loved Harry Potter since I was a kid. I have read the books many, many times. Some of my copies are falling apart because of how many times I've read them. But I am not a fan of the Half-Blood Prince. That book, I didn't like it. I will say I did not like the Half-Blood Prince. It had some cool things in it, but in general, I did not like that book. Yeah, I know. It's Docking Bay 94. So, you know, oh, thank you for the heartbeat. So there are always going to be parts of any franchise that people like and parts that people don't like. I don't hate on the Disney canon timeline. Are the sequels my favorite? No, they are not. But I am a prequel era girly. Like, the prequel era is my favorite era. For a long time, the prequel era was, like, the most hated. So, like, I will never yuck someone's yum when it comes to Star Wars. There are people who really enjoy The Last Jedi. I haven't met any of them, but I am sure that there is somebody out there who really, really, really enjoyed The Last Jedi. I am sure that there are people who really, really, really enjoyed the Power Rangers biker chase in the Book of Boba Fett. It's not my favorite, but I am sure that there are people who really enjoyed that. I am sure there are people out there who really like Solo. It's not me, but I'm sure there are people who enjoy that. So, everybody has their own tastes. I'm not going to yuck somebody else's yum because they like Solo, or they like The Last Jedi, or they think that Rhodians are sexy. I don't know. I'm sure there's an AI. You know what? I already know that there's probably an AO3 dedicated to Rhodians. There's AO3s dedicated to Jabba the Hutt. There's got to be ones for Greedo. How many pages is my book? 276, and we're already on page 42. There's only 25 chapters. It's a relatively short book based on what we've read before. But yeah, I will never hate on the Disney canon as far as Star Wars goes. People have tastes. They like what they like, and they don't like what they don't like. I think people who like okra are crazy. I think okra is disgusting, but other people really like okra. You know, they're wrong. It's slimy even when it's cooked. They're wrong that okra is good. But I'm never going to tell you can't eat okra. Okra. You're in a jam? Is it strawberry, grape, apricot? Do you need some toast? The room Sabin had stayed at in the conservatory was small, but it was all her own. She'd never shared a room with another person before, and Padme hadn't asked. Sabin quickly buried her resentment. She didn't want to stay in the barracks anyway, and she was going to have to get used to following Padme's orders. Or rather, Amidala's orders. It was an ongoing challenge to tell them apart, but also, that was part of her job. Sabin's things arrived just as they finished the second set of exercises. The guard who knocked on the door kept her face carefully bland, and Sabin couldn't imagine the report that would be submitted at the end of the shift. She decided she didn't care. They would be moving into the royal apartments soon enough, so Sabin didn't bother to fully unpack. She got her pajamas and followed Padme's directions to the refresher. It was much nicer than the one at the conservatory. I'm still working on figuring it out, Padme said after they'd all had gone to bed. The differences between Padme and Amidala, I mean. I think with you I'll have to be both. It was not quite an apology, but Sabin understood. I promise to wait until after your reign is over before I write a tell-all for the Hollows about all the things you messed up in the early days, she said. Padme laughed. I think the Queen and her new handmaiden are up to something, Tanaka said. He picked at his dinner, or whatever you called the meal you brought your wife in the middle of the night when she was on a break from work and you hadn't seen each other properly in a few days. The palace was quiet at night, but Mariek took her duties seriously and wouldn't stray too far from the diplomatic league, even though it was currently unoccupied. They're teenage girls, Mariek said. They're always going to be up to something. How can I protect her if I don't know what she's doing? He asked. Protect her from what, exactly? Mariek said. I know you like to be prepared for things, but this feels excessive, even for you. Tanaka put his chopsticks down. If there are problems with commerce in the Midrim, Naboo will be swept right along with it, he said. That's why we have a senator, Mariek told him. A senator you like, you'll remember, and who was actually friends with you for some reason? Mariek and Palpatine politely tolerated each other, but neither could see what Panaka saw in the other. I'm a very likable person, Panaka said. Just ask anyone. You did bring me dinner, Mariek allowed. Twice, since you're not going to eat yours, apparently. He handed over his plate so she could keep stealing things from it without reaching across the little table in the break room. Obi-Wan Kenobi did not like politicians. It was nothing personal, to be honest, but he didn't know that many politicians, and those he did know were generally decent to him, even though he was only a Padawan. The problem was that politicians wrote so many things down, and then Obi-Wan had to read them, because his master had a feeling that something was coming. Qui-Gon had a deeply annoying habit of being correct about this sort of thing, which was one of the reasons Obi-Wan hadn't mutinied. Well, that, because he'd tried something very much like mutiny once, and it hadn't gone well. What kind of mutiny could Obi-Wan have gotten into? Now I want to know what mutiny Obi-Wan did against Qui-Gon. How the hell did a Dianoga get on a brand new Death Star? Didn't they bring her in? Don't they help keep the detritus down in the garbage? I thought they served a purpose to the ecosystem of the Death Star. Right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure a Dianoga is part of the ecosystem of the Death Star. I don't think it was I think the Dianoga was intentionally put on the Death Star the first time and the second time as well, but I'm pretty sure that a Dianoga actually serves some sort of detritus cleanup sort of thing, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I thought a Dianoga was part of the ecosystem of the Death Star. If it is, I guess we're gonna have to make notes and I'll make a Gen video about it. If I ever get back to making Gen content. He was a Jedi apprentice. He was supposed to be meditating on his lightsaber forms, or helping his peers contemplate their feelings, or rearranging stones in the rock garden, or doing literally anything else. But no, he was reading Senate bills about tax reforms for space lanes that went to planets he'd never heard of. And at least he'd liked the library in the Jedi Temple. Jocasta was friendly to Qui-Gon and didn't seem to mind his odd requests, even though she bucked when anyone else asked for her assistance. And it was quiet. Sometimes Obi-Wan was just really, really grateful for the quiet. I swear I don't know everything about Star Wars, but there's just something, because I've read so many Star Wars books in my lifetime that I've picked up little bits and pieces. It's just from reading a lot of the books, I think, is where I've learned a lot of this. But yeah, Dianogas are part of the ecosystem of the Death Star. Isn't it because they clean up organic material? I think they're like a composter sort of a thing, right? The Dianogas clean up organic material? Because they flush, metal and stuff out, but I'm pretty sure, Dianoga keep, the organic material to a minimum. Just saying. What do you think, Obi-Wan? Qui-Gon asked. He didn't look up from the file he was reading. Obi-Wan resisted the urge to squirm. Having a master who could sense your discontent was a real pain sometimes. It had averted disaster on a couple of occasions, but it was still embarrassing. Obi-Wan had hoped to leave it behind in his childhood, but he'd settle for cutting it off with his braid when the time came. I think there are a great many people who have too much time on their hands, Obi-Wan said. He leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face. And I don't understand why it's so important that they spend this time talking about this. It's a matter of perspective, my young apprentice, Qui-Gon admonished him. He looked up from the file and gave Obi-Wan his full attention. The most important thing to the people who do this is control. The Jedi think control is important too. Obi-Wan slid into the argument with the ease of long practice. Sometimes he and his master argued when they didn't even disagree. A Jedi controls themselves, Qui-Gon said, which was more or less what Obi-Wan was anticipating. The familiar back and forth was a hard-won ribbon, and for all his personal misgivings, Obi-Wan wouldn't have given it up for anything. Politicians seek to control others, Obi-Wan said. It's not just politicians, but yes, Qui-Gon said. These taxes would drive a wedge between planets and the corporations they trade with. That's a lot of control to lose. And what are we doing, Master? Obi-Wan asked. He was used to Qui-Gon getting involved in things the Council didn't entirely approve of, but he appreciated some advanced warning about when it was going to happen. If only so he could pack. We are listening, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon said, so that when the time comes, we will be able to act. With or without orders? Obi-Wan asked. Qui-Gon smiled indulgently. It would have bothered Obi-Wan once upon a time. As a boy, he'd held the Council in such high regard, the be-all and end-all of true Jedi ambition. He still didn't entirely agree with Qui-Gon's approach to things, but he had long ago accepted it as a viable alternative. It was, after all, important to avoid absolutes. I think we'll be more or less in alignment with the Council this time, my young Padawan. You don't have to start worrying yet. At least that means we'll be likely to get involved in local labor disputes. We'll be less likely to get involved in local labor disputes, Obi-Wan said. Or kickstart unlikely Y'all. It's a Satine reference! I'll read this part again. At least that means we'll be less likely to get involved in local labor disputes, Obi-Wan said. Or kickstart unlikely romances with the local nobility. The rebuke in Qui-Gon's tone for Obi-Wan's choice of wording was unmistakable. Some things were too serious to be Some things were too serious to be understated. Obi-Wan coughed and changed the subject. It's a Satine reference! Ah! In fact, on Geonosis, a very large order was registered in the central computer. The furnaces flared under the desert sun, and the river of molten metal began its journey. The production line clanked to life. But seriously, we got a Satine reference? I love it! Oh, I'm so proud. I like this book even more. A Satine reference. Oh. Their job is to eat Tarkin's couch. That makes me so happy that they made a Satine reference. Also, I really enjoy the fact that it's like, Sabin and Padme are getting they're having their little girls' night. That's kind of fun too. Because Padme was what, 14? She's a 14-year-old. Hi, Dogeman. Yes, I'm doing quite well. Yeah, because I believe when Padme is first elected, she is 14, maybe 15. I think it's 15. And then she becomes a senator in her 20s. She's pretty young. Yeah, she's 14 or 15. She's really young. They said it in Plagueis. They said how old she was in Plagueis, and I don't remember. Where is my copy of Plagueis? Oh, there it is. Say it somewhere. They mentioned her actual age in Plagueis, which is fun. Did you know that Grogu and Padme are the same age? Grogu and Padme were born the same year. Yep. I looked it up a while ago to because they were talking how old is Grogu, and they're like, oh, he's the same age as Anakin. No, Grogu is the same age as Padme, which is really, really fun. Bit of tidbit information. And Padme is only 2 or 3 years younger than Obi-Wan. When you start going to look at the actual ages of the characters, it gets really funny because you have this she's 14. Okay. You have this, like, from the movies, you kind of have this, like, expectation that they are X age, and then you go and look it up, and they're not. Like, Padme was 14 when she was elected. I think she's 16 by the time that the events of Phantom Menace take over. 15 or 16 when Phantom Menace happens. But yeah, she was 14 when she was elected. Which is really young. Could you imagine the President of the United States being a 14-year-old child? Although, would it really be that bad? I teach 14 and 15 and I teach teenagers on Wednesday nights. And now I'm sitting here and I'm going, which one of the teenagers that I regularly teach on a Wednesday night would I like to be in charge? There's a few. There's a few that I would be very concerned about. But there are a few that they would do pretty good. There's a kid who just graduated this year. He is super sweet. He's very, very smart. He's got ADHD like crazy. Like, he makes mine look tame. He cannot hold on to a thought for longer than 5 minutes. But he is really kind. He is very smart. He's very gifted. Pretty much anything he puts his mind to, he does, and he does phenomenally well. So he is such a sweet kid. He'd be a good one. Second soda of the day? What's wrong with the soda? I drink soda all the time. I love Diet Coke. Diet Coke is my favorite beverage. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of, like, what I was like at 14, and if I could be the leader of a planet at 14. I'm 18. Would you trust me as president? I mean, what's your platform? What is the one problem that you want to? What is the biggest problem that you think we need to fix? I'm willing to hear your platform. What is it? Oh, recently. So I was driving alone in the car and having a conversation with myself like a normal human being, and I was thinking about the Tower of Terror in the Twilight Zone, and one of the few Twilight Zone episodes that I can remember is To Serve Man. And I was sitting there and I was going, you know what, at this point I'd be willing to hear out their platform. Because in To Serve Man, they solved all the diseases, they fixed climate change, there was no more famine. Like, the aliens in To Serve Man were like making things better on the planet Earth. Granted, it was so that they could eventually eat them, but, you know, I'm willing to hear out their platform. Just saying. After the last few weeks, I'm willing to hear out their platform. Eat the rich first. Yeah, so I was like, okay, so their whole premise, right, is that they're gonna eat people, and they solve all the world's problems so that they could then eat the people. Right? I got that part from the Twilight Zone episode. Here's the question. If we allow them to come onto the planet, do we get to pick the people? I mean, I have a short list. Actually, it's a long list. It starts with my ex-boyfriend from college, because he's a jerk. And then you can probably guess where that list goes, although they probably wouldn't want to eat that. The meat is tainted. Just saying. Murder is bad. That's your unaliving is bad. That's your platform. Okay, I mean, that's a fair platform to run on. Let's see. If I was president for a year, just give me like a year. I would enact a lot of policies that would reduce corruption in the long run. For example, term limits for everybody. Age limits for everybody. No, you cannot make money on being in the government. And that is no lobbying, no stock trading, no PAC money, none of it. I would take money out of politics because that causes so much overturn Citizens United and all that. And that's just to stop corruption in the future. Like, I would just write a whole bunch of laws and pass them and enact them to reduce corruption in the future. right? That's number one. That's number one on my platform is getting rid of corruption. And I mean that sincerely with the plan of, like, let's say I was made president for a day, I should be given like unfettered power to make legislation. I realize it's not how the checks and balances system works, but I want to have full legislative and powerful control. Okay? So first thing, reducing corruption. That's number one. Second thing, we are going back to the 1960s and 1970s level of taxes, right? So if you have all the money, you have to give it to us, okay? So that we can pay for all the people whose labor you stole. We're going with that. We're going to have paid sick leave. We're going to have paid PTO. We're going to have paid time off. And there's going to be a different bucket for sick and PTO, because you should not have to burn your free time, your vacation time, your time to de-stress and relax on being ill. Okay? No. We're going to get rid of the privatized healthcare life. We're going to get rid of for-profit healthcare. And while we're at it, we're going to get rid of for-profit education. Education and healthcare should not be for-profit industries. They can have some things that are for-profit, but it should not dominate the entire industry, right? Part of the reason we can't move forward with education, we can't move forward with healthcare, is because it's for-profit industry. I don't know if I'd want a theocracy there, Belle. Even as a good Christian woman, I don't want a theocracy, because while I believe that I am right, I also don't want to, while I believe that my religion is correct, I also don't want to tell people that their religion is wrong. Does that make sense? I believe that I'm right, but I also am not without the realm of possibility that everyone is right. There's like if you've ever seen Hell's Bells is a way to describe how sometimes I wonder, like Mando Dad is Catholic, but Mando Dad and I have had this discussion over, at the end of your life, you are judged according to what you signed on to. So if you signed on to the Judeo-Christian God, you are judged according to Judeo-Christian rules. If you were a Taoist, you are judged according to Taoist rules. Like the rules for your afterlife are determined by what you lived as a human. Right? Like there's a part of me that believes that. I know that's somewhat sacrilegious. Like I said, my beliefs change on when I read the Bible and what I interpret it as. Okay, have a good night, Omni. But yeah, so if I was president, we get rid of for-profit education, for-profit healthcare system. I don't know. Is there any fun things that I would do? I would make a holiday for every month. Every month gets a holiday. Every month, every company gives everybody a day off. I'd go to 4-day work weeks because, let's be honest, I think we've got psychosis and that's the problem. I already said paid maternity leave for at least 6 months. I feel like a full year is a little bit excessive. 3 months is not enough. 1 year is too much. I feel like 6 months. 6 months is a good happy medium there. Because like at 6 months, babies can start eating solid food. That's kind of where I'm drawing the line there. At 6 months, babies eat solid food, or they're starting to eat like food instead of like just milk. So we're doing that. There's my fun one. I would start 1% Hunger Games, right? So at the end of every year, whoever has the most money in the United States has to go into the top like 10 people in the United States who have the most money every year will have to go into a Hunger Games style arena. And whoever wins gets to keep all of their money. And all of the money left over from the people who didn't make it out of the arena have to give it to the government to then be dispersed to pay for education, healthcare, and infrastructure. That's my platform. No. I would have to do Flag of America with me and St. King Louis shaking hands. I like your flag idea. I will probably get a new flag. Everybody will be taught accurate history. I will. Basically, I will fix. I will pass a law that says the Constitution has to be revisited every 12 years, which is actually something that Thomas Jefferson wanted. Thomas Jefferson actually wanted to have the Constitution reevaluated I forget what his time period was, but it should be reevaluated every couple of years, just to make sure that you're not missing something, or something needs clarified, or, all that jazz. So, hi, Ventali! So anyway, that's what I would do if I was president. That's my platform. Vote for me! Except I have no reason. I have no wish to run. I have no want to be a politician. It's messy, and I enjoy my life. So, just saying. Anyway, that was a fun read. I'm definitely loving this book so far. I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that we got a Satine reference, which never happens. That's not a bad idea, Ragin. Oh, that was the other thing. You just reminded me. Every congressional member has to, in order to be elected to their congressional seat, they have to have lived in the state, had a primary residence in the state for 10 years, and they are paid the median income for their state. The median income for their state. Not the average, the median. And every state gets the median income of their state with, and we'll make it kind of like the government, you get a locality pay. So like you get, there would be like one giant like hotel that's the congressional hotel. That's where you stay. It's owned by Fed. That's where you stay when you're in Congress, when you're there. Oh, and Congress has to work at least as many days as I have to work a year. You got me a berry Dole Whip? No more English, we will only speak Latin? Okay, Pig Latin, right? We can only speak Pig Latin. No! I'm gonna make Ubby Dubby the national language of the United States. There we go. I'm gonna, and I will finally recognize the Church of the Jedi as a religion, as well as Pastafarianism. I don't think Pastafarianism or the Church of the Jedi is actually recognized by the United States government. They are recognized by the British government, however. Drink mix, like to mix into water. So, does that mean I need to bring my water bottle tomorrow? Hi, I'm a thoroughly dehydrated girly. I don't drink water. I just, every once in a while, you'll be bringing it for me tomorrow. Stop, Dolly, you are too sweet. Do I need to bring donuts? What should I bring? What am I bringing tomorrow, other than my beautiful self? And I'm gonna have to change when I get there, okay? I cannot put on my dress before I leave, because that dress is way too tight to sit in for 2.5 hours in my car. What is your law, Ragin? I want to know what your proposed law is. It'd be a good idea to bring a water bottle. You mean the Ren Fair doesn't have Diet Coke? Where is ye old Diet Coke shop? 30, each state would basically be its own country with it that way. Oh, $30,000 a year. Oh, so you'd be more like the European Union kind of a thing. Not a bad plan. But I would definitely make a lot of laws that would reduce corruption in the long run and force. That's the other thing. The vice president would be the runner-up. One of the things that bothers me a lot is that the vice president is not elected. Right? Like the vice president is just kind of like, if you vote for president, it's like the president and then like automatically tacked in. Or do like the rank choice. Do like rank choice like they have in New York and stuff, and do rank choice. So whoever gets the most top is president, and then whoever's second gets vice president. Second place gets vice president. And the cabinet is required to be, you have to be, have worked in the industry of which you have been made a cabinet position. So, like, Secretary of the Treasury has to have worked in the financial industry. And I don't mean that they were just a banker. I mean, like, they have actually, like, have experience, right? If you are the Secretary of Education, you have to have been a teacher. If you're Secretary of Defense, you need to have served in the military for a good chunk of time, not just like 3 years. You can't be a weekend warrior. Yeah. So I would say ranked choice for president, and whoever gets second rank, I don't know how that works, is automatically vice president. Because we don't. It bothers me that vice president is not elected. Right? We don't elect a vice president. The vice president is just part of a package deal with the president. Right? Which bothers me. Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly, although that would mean that I can't be president because I haven't been in the military. But I do agree with you that if you're a commander-in-chief of the military, you should have been in the military. The diocese level power that bishops hold. I like ranked choice, Thantali. I really do. I think ranked choice should be used more often. I realize that most people would not like that. But yeah, so we can solve all the world's problems, right? We could easily. Unfortunately, we have no legislative power, and our legislation is so corrupt that we'll never get any of this done. But it would be nice. We can dream. I don't know. In the original forming of the government, the VP was whoever got second place. And I don't know when the law changed that VPs got to be chosen. Must be good at the game Civilization. Or Catan. You can. Ooh, that's how we pick president now, right? That's how we pick president. They have to play a game of Catan. And if I was president of the world, I would make a rule that in order to become president of the world, every year, or at least anytime somebody wanted to start a war, that the leaders of those nations have to go in and do the fight. You cannot send the military, cannot send bombs or planes or nothing like that. Whoever is the leader of the country that you're fighting against, you guys have to fight each other. I hate to use a UFC cage fight as the example because, but it would be like a UFC kind of boxing match thing. Yes, it would need to be televised. In fact, I think it should be televised and it's pay-per-view, and then we use the pay-per-view to fund infrastructure, right? So we like once a year, that would be it. Once a year, we just have everybody go and do like a fist fight in an arena, and then whoever comes out gets to be in charge, and we do it pay-per-view, and that's how we get rid of the national debt. I mean, honestly. And you cannot send someone in your place. You have to go. I mean, could you imagine? Like Susan Collins. Is it Susan Collins? Is she the one from Maine that's like ancient, but she's running again? Like could you just imagine? We put like Mitch McConnell and Pelosi, and they gotta fight each other, and then whoever wins is in charge. I'd be okay with that, Belle. I believe that the lives of saints will be taught as historical. Are they not considered historical fact? I mean, I grew up in the evangelical church, so I when I converted to Catholicism, I had to learn more about saints. But is the history of saints not considered factual? I am sort of Catholic. I married a Catholic man. When we got married, I converted to Catholicism. However, I married a Creaster Catholic, and I, growing up in the evangelical church, much prefer to attend church more regularly. And so I don't go to Catholic church anymore. I go to a Baptist church, which before you guys go like, oh my gosh, Baptist. We are not that kind of Baptist. We are incredibly progressive. I would not attend a church that was not progressive. So, just we have women deacons, right? So yeah, we're a our pastor says we're a Baptist church in name only. Other Southern Baptists come to our church and then we have women deacons. Other true SBC Baptists come to our church and then get pissed off because we're not. There's sort of, but I thought like, okay, but like Saint Francis of Assisi, he was a real guy. The things that he did were real. Like, I don't understand. Like, even I, as an evangelical, grew up believing that the lives of saints were historical fact. I don't necessarily understand, or didn't at the time, revering them over others. But like, I thought that was historical. Yes, Eddie Izzard. I love Eddie Izzard. So, I am. If you're excited that I'm Catholic, I am sort of. I'm Catholic by marriage. My children were baptized as Catholic. However, Mini Mando does not want. Tiny Mando wants to be Catholic. Mini Mando does not want to be Catholic, and so Mini Mando has asked to be baptized again in the Baptist church. She does not. She would like to do a profession of faith on her own, which I'm not going to stop her. That's her choice. I will never stop my children from pursuing their faith in. I will teach them. I will teach them the way I was taught, or what I believe. But I will not force my beliefs onto them. I want them to believe what they believe. I feel like downloading my beliefs into somebody is not true belief. If I just copy and paste and that's what you believe because I believe it, that's not real faith. So yes, that totally happened, Shlomo. I was there. That so 1864. Yeah. So in 1864, the VP stopped being the runner-up and became just picked by the president. So I'm glad I have a Catholic glow. I don't know what that means. I do attend mass more often than my husband, the Catholic, does. I go at least on some of the feast days because it makes my mother-in-law happy, because my mother-in-law is a much more devout Catholic as far as my in-law family goes. And so I do, I will take my children to mass on the high holy days, and I will go with her, and it makes her happy. It is a way of honoring my mother-in-law. Faith is a personal thing, right? So I can share my faith, but I'm not going to tell people that their faith is wrong. I think part of it is like, for me, growing up, yeah, I was raised in the evangelical church, but like we never picked a denomination, right? So when I was born, I was raised I went to a Presbyterian church until I was like kindergarten, and then I was going to a Methodist church until I was probably in about 3rd or 4th grade. Then I went to a Grace Brethren church. Then we kind of bounced around a bit to find a home church. Then we went to an evangelical church, and then I went to a Catholic church for a little while, and now I go to a Baptist church. So like, and in that is my grandparents went to a Lutheran church, and so there's Lutheran. So I guess for me, my idea of faith is a little different because I've never been like beholden to a denomination. And now you're Catholic. that is a shift, Shlomo. That is a long shift. Luna, you're here. You missed us reading, but there was a Satine reference. You missed the Satine. There was a Satine reference in the book. I'm sure we do. I've never met any, but I'm sure there was. Yes, hang on. I'll read it to you because it was at the very end of the chapter. I loved it. So Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are in the library, right? And Jocasta Nu is there, and so they're reading like Senate bills and stuff like that. And it says, so Obi-Wan says, at least that means we'll be less likely to get involved in local labor disputes, Obi-Wan says. No, the Jedi Temple. They're at the Jedi Temple Library. And then Qui-Gon responds with, or kickstart unlikely romances with local nobility. The rebuke in Qui-Gon's tone for Obi-Wan's choice of wording was unmistakable. Some things were too serious to be understated. But they were totally, they made a Satine reference. That was Qui-Gon was poking fun at Obi-Wan for his relationship with Satine, and I loved it! So, you missed that from our reading tonight, but I know that you understand the Satine love. They never mentioned Satine. Even though Satine is awesome. I try to go to church every Sunday, Belle. But lately I haven't because I haven't been home on Sunday. Like this Sunday. Well, this Sunday will be the first Sunday I've been able to go to church in like a month, so. She is an underrated character. And I'm not gonna lie, I would watch the crap out of an Obi-Wan and Satine show. Like, whoa. Like, whoa. I would, oh my gosh, a Satine show. Just a Satine show. Just don't even include Obi-Wan. Just a Satine show. Oh, would love it. And I know so many girls out there. Like, there are so many Star Wars girlies out there. Yeah. Yeah. Satine sounds too much like Satan. Oh no. Actually, funny thing. My 5th grade teacher, so I went to a Christian school up until I was in 8th grade. My 5th grade teacher would not allow us to talk about Santa because if you rearrange the letters in Santa, it spelled Satan. That was my 5th grade teacher. Mm-hmm. So stream will be longer. Nice going, chat. Well, I don't think I will be online I might be online on Monday, but then you guys won't see me for another week because I'll be in California, and 7 o'clock is kind of early for me to be trying to stream. And I'd only have my phone. I wouldn't even be able to multi-stream. Yeah, no, she really said that. Which then, of course, my Catholic husband was like, really? I mean, but Santa is just for it. Which, now that I think about it, that was a dumb thing to say because we also learned about Christopher Columbus, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and she had no problem talking about the ship. Makes no sense. Absolutely not. This is why I can't. That's why I deconstructed. There's a reason I deconstructed and reconstructed, but that's part of like why I deconstructed. I know Santa is based off St. Nicholas. My birthday is the feast of St. Nicholas. No, I wasn't married in 5th grade. No. No, I was telling my now husband about what my 5th grade teacher said, and he was like, he's very funny because my husband was raised Catholic, right? And I was raised in the evangelical church, and so it's funny when like I explained things to him, and he's just like, and they say Catholics are the weird ones. You guys are nuts, and I was like, I agree. No. I mean, I had a third at my school. At my 3rd grade teacher spoke tongues. She'd speak tongues over us 3rd graders. It was weird. She got fired because she was verbally and emotionally abusing us in the classroom. And I wish that was fake. Yeah, I've told this thing before. My 3rd grade teacher, I'll go back. My mom was telling me dumb blonde jokes. So my mom was telling me about dumb blonde jokes, and like she was introducing them to me she was introducing dumb blonde jokes to me for the very first time. And we're sitting, I distinctly remember this. We were sitting in the kitchen and she told me a couple dumb blonde jokes. And then I said, okay, now tell me a stupid redhead joke. And my mom looked at me like I had grown 6 heads because she goes, there's no such thing as a stupid redhead joke. Who was telling you stupid redhead jokes? And I was like, well, it wasn't a joke, but the teacher kept telling the redheads in the class, myself included, that they were stupid redheads. She would say stupid redheads on a regular basis. And that started the whole thing where my mom found out that her teacher was being verbally and emotionally abusive. And within like 2 or 3 weeks, she was fired because she called a bunch of the other moms in my classroom and they all compared notes. And yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the parents started comparing notes about the stuff that their kids were coming home and saying, and the parents went, ooh, bad things are happening at school. Uh-oh. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I I helped get my 3rd grade teacher fired. And you know, after all the abuse, I still felt bad. I still felt bad that I was part of her downfall. I still felt bad. I still felt bad about the people I've gotten fired at work. Because they were doing very bad things with their computers. But I still feel bad. They shouldn't have been doing it. They knew the rules. But I feel bad. I have the best face reactions. My face does not have a mute button. My face also likes to translate for my brain. So while I have inside thoughts, my face sometimes makes them outside statements. I'll see you in the morning, Tali. I should probably go to bed because I have to wake up super early tomorrow to drive to Spotsylvania. Yeah, my face likes to talk for me when I'm not supposed to talk. That has unfortunately happened more than once. I have to. The biggest one is my boss. I have to remember with my boss to keep my face neutral, and it is an active thing where I am sitting there and I'm going, keep your face neutral, keep your face neutral, keep your face neutral, do not react, because my boss, Lord help her, there's a lot of problems on my team. I don't know. I just have learned with her that gray rocking works extremely well. I have to gray rock my boss a lot. And keep my face neutral a lot because your wife is a nurse with the same face thing. Yeah, my face doesn't know. My face doesn't know that my mouth is supposed to be shut up. You know, like my face when somebody says something stupid and like they meant it all sincerely and you probably shouldn't call them stupid. My face is going. And then they're like, why are you making that face? And I'll be like, because you said some dumb stuff. But yeah, what's really funny is I was required to tell my boss that I might have an interview for this other position. And today she wanted to organize team bonding exercises. I think she thinks that the reason I looked for another job is because of the morale, which is part of it, but it's not my main driving factor. It really is. I know that this new job is a good move for my career. It's a leadership opportunity. Like, it's better. Better pay, better growth opportunity, and all that, but I'm not getting on my current team. Hey, Carter. So, you know, it's a matter of, like, it's not the morale issue. I mean, that's part of it. That is part of it. But it's not like the driving factor. I've been putting up with the crap on my team for 5 years. I will, when I move, when you okay said yes, okay, so he would go? Huh? Oh, if I were to leave my team though, I will probably definitely let my boss in on uh the harassment, the creepy coworker dude. If I were to leave the team. Because it's probably important that she knows about creepy coworker dude. So, yeah. Are you gonna collab with Peppa Pig? Why would I collab with Peppa Pig? That's such a confusing thing to say. I'm not British, nor am I a pig. Besties? Okay, this is getting weird. Anyway, I will see you guys on Monday. I think probably should. It just depends. I'm flying out sometime on Tuesday. Mando Dad has not told me what time our flight is, so I just gotta trust him. I need him to send me my ticket. But yeah, so we're gonna fly out to California on Tuesday. I don't know if I get super bored. Oh, thank you for the follow. If I get super bored, I might come online. I unfortunately will not be available on the Play Button app or the Purple app. I apologize. I just can't do that on my phone. But if you're over on the TikTokeries, you can certainly do that. Yeah. I'm gonna end the YouTube for now. So anyway, I will see you guys on Monday, probably, unless my flight is at like 4 o'clock in the morning, then I definitely won't be on. I might take our book with us. I don't know. Because like I said, 7 o'clock, so 10 p.m. EST will be 7 o'clock PST. That's more of a challenge because the children are not asleep yet and we're going to be doing stuff. So I can tell you for sure, Thursday will not be available. Because Thursday I'm going to Disneyland. Both parks in 1 year? Anyway, so I will see you guys on Monday. Maybe Sunday night. It just depends on how I'm feeling, just to get you guys an extra like day or so. But yeah, I will see you guys